Everything you've been chasing stops running the moment you stop chasing it. That relationship you wanted so badly, that opportunity you kept begging for, that recognition you were desperate to receive, the harder you ran after it, the further it seemed to pull away. There's a reason for that, and it has nothing to do with luck, timing, or being not good enough. It has to do with a quiet, almost invisible shift called silent self-mastery. It's the practice of turning all your energy inward, focusing completely on your own growth, your own peace, your own becoming, without announcing it, without chasing anyone or anything, without begging the world to notice you. And the strange, almost unbelievable truth is this: the moment you fully master this quiet inward focus, the very things you used to chase start finding their way back to you. Not because you manipulated anything, not because you tried harder, but because you became someone those things could no longer resist. Today I'm going to show you exactly how silent self-mastery works, step by step, and how to build it into your life until it becomes your natural way of being. Stay till the very end, because the final piece is what makes this transformation permanent. Why chasing pushes everything further away? Let's start with something almost nobody talks about openly. Chasing anything, a person, an opportunity, respect, success, actually pushes it further away. Not because the universe is cruel, but because chasing comes from a specific energy, and that energy repels the very thing it's reaching for. Think about it honestly. Have you ever wanted someone's attention so badly that you texted too much, showed up too eager, or tried too hard to prove your worth? And the more you did that, the more distant they became. Or maybe you wanted a job so badly that you seemed desperate in the interview, over-explaining, overselling yourself, and somehow that desperation made you less appealing, not more. This isn't a coincidence. Chasing sends out an energetic signal of lack. It says, without you even realizing it, I don't have this, and I desperately need it to feel complete. And whatever carries this frequency of lack tends to repel the very thing it's trying to attract, because energetically, it doesn't match a state of already having, already being enough. Here's the deeper problem with chasing. It keeps your entire focus outward, on someone else's approval, on an external outcome, on something completely outside of your control. This means your emotional state becomes dependent on things you have no real power over. If they respond well, you feel amazing. If they pull away, you feel crushed. Your entire sense of peace becomes a roller coaster controlled by external circumstances. Silent self-mastery works in the exact opposite direction. Instead of pouring your energy outward, chasing, convincing, proving, you redirect all of that energy inward, toward your own growth, your own peace, your own becoming. And ironically, this shift is what makes you naturally magnetic, without ever trying to be. Here's why this happens. When you stop chasing and start focusing on yourself, you begin operating from a place of wholeness rather than lack. You're no longer looking for someone or something to complete you. You're simply continuing to build a life, a mindset, and an energy that already feels complete on its own. And people, opportunities, and circumstances are naturally drawn to this energy of wholeness far more than they're ever drawn to desperation. This doesn't mean you stop caring about your goals or relationships. It means you stop attaching your entire identity and emotional stability to whether or not they happen on your timeline. You still want that relationship, that opportunity, that recognition, but you no longer need it to feel okay. And this single shift changes everything about how you show up in the world. There's something else important to understand here. Chasing often comes from fear. Fear that if you don't pursue something aggressively, it will disappear forever. But silent self-mastery is built on trust. Trust that if something is truly meant for you, it will come without needing to be forced. And if it doesn't come, something even better is being made available in its place. So the first step in this entire process is recognizing where in your life you've been chasing. Whether it's a person, a career move, or simply approval from people around you. Once you can see this clearly, you're ready to begin the actual practice of turning that energy inward, which is exactly what we'll build next. The first step, reclaiming your energy from where you've been leaking it. Before you can build silent self-mastery, you need to understand where your energy has been going all this time. Because right now, without even realizing it, a huge portion of your daily energy is likely being spent outward, on people, situations, and outcomes you don't actually control. Here's what this looks like in real life. constantly checking your phone to see if someone replied, replaying a conversation over and over, wondering what someone meant by a certain tone or comment, mentally rehearsing what you'll say next time you see a certain person, hoping to finally get the reaction you want, comparing your progress to someone else's, wondering why they seem to have what you're still chasing. All of this is energy leakage, and most people don't even notice it happening because it feels so normal, almost like background noise running constantly in the mind. But this constant outward focus is exactly what keeps you stuck in a chasing pattern, because your attention, and therefore your energy, never fully returns home to you. The first practical step in reclaiming this energy is simply noticing it without judgment. Throughout your day, start paying attention to how often your mind drifts towards someone else's approval, someone else's response, or someone else's life. You don't need to fight this or feel frustrated when you notice it. Simply observing it is enough to begin loosening its grip. Once you notice this pattern, the second step is a simple, powerful redirection technique. The moment you catch your mind chasing something outward, whether it's replaying a conversation or wondering about someone's opinion of you, gently bring your attention back to a simple question. What can I focus on right now that's actually mine to build? This might be your own work, your own healing, your own daily habits, anything that belongs entirely to you rather than depending on someone else's response. This redirection isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending you don't care about the outcome. It's about consistently choosing to invest your limited daily energy into things within your control, rather than constantly spending it on things outside your control. Over time, this single habit dramatically changes how much energy you have available for your own growth. A third important practice here is reducing what I call passive monitoring. This means limiting how often you check on things that keep your energy tied outward, like repeatedly viewing someone's social media, checking if a message has been read, or refreshing an email waiting for a response. Each time you do this, you're pulling your own energy back into a state of waiting and chasing. Instead, set specific limited times to check these things, if at all, rather than allowing it to become a constant background activity throughout your day. Here's something powerful that happens as you consistently practice this energy reclamation. You start to feel a noticeable shift in your daily mood and focus. Instead of feeling scattered, anxious, or emotionally dependent on outside responses, you begin feeling more grounded, more present, and surprisingly, more at peace, even before anything external has actually changed. This reclaimed energy becomes the raw material for everything we build from here. Without it, silent self-mastery isn't possible because you simply won't have enough inward focus and energy available to invest into your own transformation. But once you begin consistently pulling your energy back from outward chasing, you create the foundation needed for real, lasting inner change. Building a daily practice of inward focus. Now that you understand how to reclaim your energy from outward chasing, it's time to build a consistent daily practice that channels this energy inward toward genuine growth and self-mastery. This is where real transformation begins, because reclaiming energy without redirecting it somewhere meaningful simply leaves you standing still. Here's the first element of this daily practice. Every morning, before engaging with anyone else's world, spend just 5 to 10 minutes checking in with yourself first. Not your phone, not your messages, yourself. Ask simple, honest questions. How do I actually feel today? What do I need right now? What's one thing I can focus on today that's entirely mine? This simple morning check-in trains your mind to prioritize your own inner world before absorbing everyone else's. The second element is choosing one area of genuine growth to focus on consistently, rather than scattering your energy across dozens of things. This might be physical health, a skill you're building, emotional healing, or simply becoming more disciplined in your daily habits. The key here isn't the specific area, it's the consistency. Silent self-mastery isn't built through occasional bursts of motivation. It's built through quiet, steady, daily investment in your own becoming. Here's why this matters so deeply. When you're consistently focused on your own growth, something interesting happens to your relationship with chasing. You simply become too engaged in your own life to spend excessive energy chasing external validation. Your own path becomes interesting enough, fulfilling enough, that you naturally stop needing constant external outcomes to feel like your life is moving forward. A third essential piece of this daily practice is protecting your focus from comparison. In a world filled with constant visibility into other people's lives through social media, it's easy to unconsciously measure your progress against someone else's timeline. Every time you notice this comparison creeping in, gently return your attention to your own specific goals and progress, reminding yourself, my path doesn't need to look like anyone else's to be valid. Journaling can be an incredibly powerful tool within this daily practice, not to share with anyone, but purely for your own private reflection. Spending even 5 minutes each evening writing about what you focused on that day, what you learned and how you feel, reinforces this inward direction of your energy. Over time, this creates a written record of your own quiet transformation, one that only you need to witness. Physical movement also plays an important role here, whether it's exercise, stretching, or simply walking. Moving your body daily helps discharge nervous energy that might otherwise get channeled into anxious chasing or overthinking about external outcomes. A body that feels strong and cared for naturally supports a mind that feels calm and inwardly focused. Here's something crucial to understand about this daily practice. It doesn't need to be perfect, and it doesn't need to be dramatic. Small, consistent actions, 5 minutes of morning reflection, focused work on one area of growth, gentle redirection away from comparison, evening reflection, and regular movement compound quietly over weeks and months into a completely different internal state than where you started. As you continue this daily rhythm, you'll notice something remarkable beginning to happen. The people, opportunities, and outcomes you used to chase so desperately will start to feel less urgent, less consuming. Not because you stopped caring, but because your energy has found a new home, inside your own growth rather than outside in someone else's hands. Learning to sit with discomfort without chasing relief. As you begin practicing inward focus, you'll inevitably encounter something uncomfortable. Moments where you desperately want to chase relief, reach out, check on someone, or seek reassurance, simply because sitting with uncertainty feels unbearable. This part of the journey is often the hardest, and it's exactly where most people give up on silent self-mastery before it has a chance to fully take root. Here's what's really happening in these uncomfortable moments. When you stop chasing something you deeply want, whether it's someone's attention, an opportunity, or an outcome, your nervous system often interprets this stillness as danger. It feels unnatural, almost like something is wrong, because you're used to relieving this discomfort through action, texting first, checking their profile, over-explaining yourself, seeking some kind of external reassurance that everything is okay. But here's the powerful truth. This discomfort isn't actually a sign that something is wrong. It's simply your nervous system adjusting to a new way of being, one where you no longer immediately chase relief the moment discomfort arises. The first step in handling this is learning to recognize the urge to chase relief the moment it appears. This might show up as a strong impulse to send a message, check someone's online activity, or seek reassurance from a friend about a situation you're trying to release. The moment you notice this urge rising, pause. Don't act immediately. Simply notice, this is the urge to chase relief. I don't have to act on it right now. The second step is learning to breathe through this discomfort, rather than immediately escaping it. Take several slow, deep breaths, allowing the uncomfortable feeling to exist in your body without rushing to fix it. This might feel strange at first, almost like sitting with an itch you're not allowed to scratch, but with practice, you'll notice the intensity of this discomfort naturally softens the longer you allow it to simply exist without reacting. A third important practice is separating the discomfort from the belief that something urgent needs to happen right now. Often, when we feel discomfort around chasing something, our mind convinces us that immediate action is necessary, that if we don't reach out right now, we'll lose the opportunity forever. In most cases, this urgency is created by the discomfort itself, not by actual reality. Gently reminding yourself, this feeling is temporary, and nothing catastrophic will happen if I simply wait, helps loosen this false sense of urgency. Here's something important to understand about this process. Every time you sit with discomfort instead of immediately chasing relief, you're literally training your nervous system to tolerate uncertainty without panic. This is an incredibly valuable skill, not just for silent self-mastery, but for every area of your life, because so much of chasing behavior comes from an inability to tolerate not knowing an outcome immediately. Over time, as you practice sitting with this discomfort repeatedly, something remarkable happens. The intensity of these urges naturally decreases. Situations that once felt unbearable to sit with, waiting for a reply, waiting for an opportunity, waiting for recognition, start to feel much more manageable, almost neutral. This isn't because you stopped caring about the outcome, it's because your nervous system finally learned that stillness doesn't equal danger. This ability to sit calmly with discomfort, without immediately chasing relief, becomes one of the most powerful tools in your entire silent self-mastery practice, because it's often the missing piece that determines whether someone can truly stop chasing, or whether they simply suppress the urge temporarily before eventually giving in and reaching out anyway. Detaching from outcomes without losing motivation. A third important practice is separating your identity from any single specific outcome. Many people unconsciously tie their entire sense of self-worth to whether one particular goal happens, that promotion, that relationship, that specific opportunity. When your identity becomes fused with one outcome, detaching from it feels almost impossible, because it feels like you're detaching from your own worth. Instead, remind yourself regularly, I am someone who works consistently and grows, regardless of how any single situation turns out. This protects your core identity from being dependent on one specific result. Here's something important to understand about motivation itself. Chasing often creates a short burst of intense, anxious motivation, but it's usually unsustainable because it's fueled by fear and urgency rather than genuine alignment. Detached, consistent effort, on the other hand, creates a much steadier, longer-lasting motivation because it's rooted in genuine care for your own growth rather than desperate need for a specific external result. A fourth practice involves creating multiple sources of fulfillment in your life, rather than placing all your emotional well-being onto one single goal or person. If your entire happiness depends on one specific outcome working out exactly as planned, detachment becomes incredibly difficult. But if you're simultaneously nurturing other areas of your life, friendships, personal projects, health, creativity, it becomes much easier to hold any single outcome loosely because your entire emotional stability isn't riding on it alone. It's also helpful to regularly remind yourself of a simple, powerful truth. Detachment doesn't mean the outcome doesn't matter to you. It simply means you trust yourself enough to remain okay, regardless of how or when it unfolds. This distinction is crucial because it allows you to continue caring deeply and working consistently without the anxious grip that chasing energy creates. Here's what often happens as people master this detached, consistent approach. Ironically, their results often improve, not despite letting go of desperate chasing, but specifically because of it. Without the fog of anxiety and urgency clouding their decisions, they make clearer, calmer choices. They come across as more confident and secure to others, which naturally makes people and opportunities more drawn to them, rather than repelled by visible desperation. This is the real balance silent self-mastery teaches. Full effort, genuine care, consistent action, held together with complete emotional detachment from needing a specific result on a specific timeline in order to feel whole. This combination, rather than reducing your motivation, often becomes the exact energy that finally allows things to move forward with less resistance than ever before, becoming so focused on yourself that you stop noticing who notices you. There's a specific mental shift that marks the true turning point in silent self-mastery, and it's this. You become so genuinely absorbed in your own growth, your own goals, and your own inner world that you naturally stop keeping track of who's watching, who approves, or who's paying attention to you at all. Most people live their entire lives in a subtle, constant state of self-monitoring through other people's eyes. Even without realizing it, a huge portion of daily thoughts revolve around how others perceive certain choices, whether a decision looks impressive enough, whether someone noticed a particular achievement, whether a certain person saw a specific post or accomplishment. This constant outward awareness quietly drains enormous amounts of mental and emotional energy that could otherwise be fully invested into your own life. Here's the first step in shifting this pattern. Start noticing how often your mind, throughout the day, drifts toward wondering what someone else thinks or notices about you. This might show up as imagining someone's reaction to something you're doing, or feeling a subtle disappointment when a certain person doesn't acknowledge an effort or achievement. Simply becoming aware of how frequently this happens is often surprising, and this awareness alone begins loosening its grip. The second step is consciously redirecting this awareness back toward your own experience of what you're doing, rather than how it might appear to others. Instead of thinking, "I wonder if they'll notice how well I handled that," shift toward, "How do I feel about how I handled that, regardless of anyone else's awareness of it?" This simple redirection trains your mind to find validation internally, rather than constantly outsourcing it to an audience, real or imagined. A third powerful practice here is intentionally doing things privately, without any plan to share or reveal them, purely for your own satisfaction. This might mean working on a personal project without posting about it, achieving a personal goal without immediately telling everyone, or making a positive change in your life quietly, without needing public recognition. This builds your capacity to feel genuinely fulfilled by your own experience, completely independent of outside validation. Here's something fascinating that happens as you build this internal focus. As you naturally become less concerned with who's watching or noticing you, you paradoxically become far more magnetic to the people and opportunities around you. This happens because unclaimed, self-assured energy is inherently more attractive than energy that's constantly seeking approval. People are naturally drawn to those who seem genuinely absorbed in their own authentic growth, rather than those who appear to be performing for an audience. This shift also dramatically reduces emotional volatility in your daily life. When your sense of okayness no longer depends on whether specific people notice or approve of you, you become far less affected by small perceived slights, being overlooked, or not receiving expected recognition. Your emotional stability becomes rooted in your own relationship with yourself, rather than constantly fluctuating based on external acknowledgement. As this practice deepens over time, something remarkable emerges. You start living your life primarily for your own genuine fulfillment and growth, rather than as a performance for others. And ironically, this is precisely the energy, calm, self-assured, internally focused, that naturally draws in the very recognition, relationships, and opportunities you once felt you had to chase so desperately to receive. Why people are more attracted to what they can't fully reach. There's a strange but consistent pattern in human psychology, and understanding it deeply explains exactly why silent self-mastery works so powerfully. People are naturally drawn toward what feels slightly out of reach, complete, whole, and secure on its own, and naturally repelled by what feels overly available, desperate, or dependent on their attention to feel okay. This isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. It's simply how energy and psychology genuinely work. Think about your own experiences. Have you ever noticed that the moment you stopped needing someone's approval so badly, they suddenly became more interested in yours? Or that the moment you stopped chasing a particular opportunity, a similar or even better one appeared without nearly as much effort? Here's what's really happening beneath the surface. When you constantly chase, explain yourself, or seek approval, you're unconsciously communicating, "I need this external validation to feel complete." This creates an energetic dynamic where the other person, or the opportunity itself, holds all the power while you remain in a position of lack and need. But when you shift into silent self-mastery, fully focused on your own growth, calm, secure, and genuinely engaged in your own life, you communicate something entirely different. "I am already whole. This would be a wonderful addition to my life, but I don't need it to feel complete." This energy of wholeness is inherently more attractive, because it doesn't require anything from the other person or situation. It simply exists on its own, secure and self-sufficient. Here's the first practical way to build this energy of natural wholeness. Focus on filling your own life so completely with meaningful growth, relationships, and personal fulfillment, that any single external outcome becomes a wonderful addition, rather than something you desperately need to feel okay. This might mean deepening other friendships, investing in personal projects, or simply becoming more comfortable spending quality time alone, doing things purely for your own enjoyment. The second practical step is noticing when you slip into over-explaining or over-proving yourself to someone, and gently pulling back. Confident, secure energy rarely needs excessive justification. If you notice yourself repeatedly explaining your worth, your decisions, or your value to someone who isn't already valuing you, this is often a sign you've slipped back into chasing energy, rather than operating from genuine self-assurance. A third important shift involves becoming comfortable with the possibility of someone or something not choosing you without it shattering your sense of self-worth. This doesn't mean pretending you don't care. It means building enough internal security that even potential rejection doesn't feel like proof of your inadequacy. This security itself, ironically, tends to make you far less likely to be rejected, because desperate energy is what most often pushes people and opportunities away in the first place. Here's the deeper truth underlying all of this. You cannot fake this energy of wholeness convincingly for very long. It has to be genuinely built through real inner work, reclaiming your energy, focusing inward, sitting with discomfort, and detaching from specific outcomes. But once this energy becomes authentic, rather than performed, it naturally, almost effortlessly, begins attracting the very things you once had to chase so desperately, simply because you no longer need them to feel whole. The role of patience in silent self-mastery. One of the hardest parts of this entire journey is patience, especially in a world that constantly rewards instant results and immediate gratification. Silent self-mastery doesn't work on a fast timeline, and understanding why patience is so essential here will help you stay committed, even when results aren't visible right away. Here's the first thing to understand about patience in this context. Real transformation, the kind that changes your entire energy and how the world responds to you, doesn't happen through one dramatic decision. It happens through hundreds of small, quiet choices, repeated consistently over weeks and months. Choosing not to chase today, choosing to sit with discomfort instead of seeking relief tomorrow, choosing to focus inward again the next day, even when it feels difficult. Each of these small choices compounds slowly, similar to how tiny drops of water eventually carve through solid rock, not through force but through gentle, consistent repetition over time. This is exactly why so many people give up on this practice too early. They try silent self-mastery for a few days or weeks, don't see an immediate dramatic shift in their external circumstances, and conclude it isn't working. But real energetic transformation operates on a much deeper timeline than our impatient minds want to accept. Here's a helpful way to reframe this waiting period. Instead of viewing this time as simply waiting for external results to appear, view it as active internal construction. You're not passively waiting, you're actively building a completely different internal foundation, one thought, one boundary, one moment of stillness at a time. This shift in perspective helps patience feel less like stagnant waiting and more like meaningful, ongoing progress, even when it isn't visible from the outside yet. A second important practice here is learning to measure progress through internal shifts rather than only external outcomes. Notice if you're feeling less anxious than you used to when situations don't go your way immediately. Notice if you're recovering more quickly from disappointment than before. Notice if you're spending less mental energy replaying conversations or checking for external validation. These internal shifts are genuine signs of progress, even if the exact external outcome you're hoping for hasn't arrived yet. Here's something crucial to understand about timing itself. Often, the things we chase desperately arrive exactly when we finally stop needing them so badly, not because of some mystical coincidence, but because our own energy has genuinely shifted by that point, becoming calmer, more secure, and naturally more attractive to opportunities and people who resonate with that new energy. Patience also requires releasing a specific, rigid timeline for when things should happen. The moment you attach a strict deadline to your transformation or to a specific outcome, you reintroduce the very anxious, chasing energy you're trying to release. Instead, hold a general sense of trust. This is unfolding in its own right timing, without needing to control exactly when or how. As you continue practicing patience throughout this journey, something important begins to happen internally. You start developing a genuine sense of trust in yourself and in the process itself, rather than needing constant external proof that everything is working. This trust becomes one of the most stabilizing forces in your entire silent self-mastery practice, allowing you to remain consistent and calm, even during the periods when nothing visible seems to be happening yet. Handling setbacks without losing your progress. No matter how consistently you practice silent self-mastery, there will be moments when you slip back into old patterns, moments where you chase again, over-explain yourself again, or feel that familiar anxious urge to seek reassurance. This is completely normal, and how you handle these setbacks determines whether they become temporary bumps in your progress or complete derailments that send you all the way back to where you started. Here's the first thing to understand about setbacks. They don't erase the progress you've already made. Even if you slip back into an old chasing pattern after weeks of practicing stillness, this doesn't mean all your previous inner work disappeared. Growth isn't a straight line. It's more like a spiral, where you continue moving forward overall, even while occasionally circling back through familiar old patterns, usually with a little more awareness each time than before. The first practical step when you notice a setback is avoiding harsh self-criticism. Many people, the moment they catch themselves chasing again, immediately spiral into frustration, thinking things like, "I ruined everything," or "I'll never be able to master this." This kind of harsh self-judgment actually creates more emotional turbulence, which ironically makes it even harder to return to a calm, inward-focused state. Instead, simply notice what happened without excessive self-blame. I slipped into an old pattern. That's okay. I can return to my practice right now. The second step is examining what triggered the setback, without judgment, simply with curiosity. Did a specific situation, person, or emotional trigger cause you to fall back into chasing behavior? Understanding your specific triggers helps you prepare more effectively for similar situations in the future, rather than being caught off guard by them again. A third important practice is returning to your foundational tools immediately after noticing a setback, rather than waiting until you feel fully ready again. This might mean sitting quietly for a few minutes to reconnect with yourself, revisiting your morning check-in practice, or simply taking a few deep breaths to interrupt the anxious energy before it builds further. The faster you return to these grounding practices after a setback, the less momentum the old pattern has a chance to build. Here's something important to understand about why setbacks happen so often around specific triggers, particularly people or situations connected to your strongest, most desired outcomes. The stronger your desire for something, the more challenging it often is to remain fully detached and calm around it. This isn't a sign of failure, it's simply human nature. Even people deeply committed to this practice experience moments of slipping, especially around their most significant goals or relationships. A fourth helpful practice is keeping a simple record of your overall progress over time, rather than focusing only on individual setbacks. Look back at how you responded to a similar situation a month ago, compared to how you're responding now. Often, even if you still experience occasional chasing urges, you'll notice you recover much faster, or the intensity feels less overwhelming than before. This broader perspective helps you see genuine progress, even during periods that feel like temporary regression. Ultimately, setbacks aren't proof that silent self-mastery isn't working for you. They're simply part of the natural learning process, moments that reveal exactly where your remaining growth opportunities lie. Each time you notice a setback, gently correct course, and return to your practice, you're actually reinforcing your commitment to this transformation, even more deeply than if everything had gone perfectly smooth the entire time. How your energy begins to naturally shift the people around you as you continue deepening your silent self-mastery practice, something remarkable starts happening, not just within you, but in how the people around you begin responding to your presence, often without either of you consciously realizing why. Here's what typically happens first. People who were previously inconsistent with you, distant, unpredictable, or only occasionally attentive, often begin showing up differently once your own energy shifts. This isn't because you did anything dramatic or manipulative. It's because your reduced neediness and increased self-sufficiency changes the entire dynamic of the relationship, often prompting the other person to naturally extend more genuine effort than before. This happens for a very specific reason. When you were chasing, explaining, or seeking constant reassurance, you unconsciously created an imbalance where the other person held all the power in the relationship, simply because your emotional stability depended on their response. Once you shift into silent self-mastery, calm, secure, and no longer desperately needing their validation, this imbalance naturally corrects itself. The relationship becomes more balanced, because you're no longer approaching it from a place of lack. Here's something equally important to understand. Not everyone will respond positively to this shift. And that's actually valuable information, not a failure on your part. Some people, particularly those who benefited from your previous chasing or people-pleasing behavior, might initially seem confused or even slightly distant when they notice you're no longer available in the same anxious, easily accessible way as before. This isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's simply revealing which relationships were built on your neediness, rather than genuine mutual respect and connection. The first practical thing to understand here is that you're not trying to control how people respond to your new energy. You're simply being consistent with your own inner transformation and allowing people to respond however feels natural to them. Some relationships will genuinely deepen and improve as the other person begins matching your calmer, more secure energy. Others may naturally fade, revealing they were never truly aligned with the real, secure version of you in the first place. A second important understanding is recognizing that this shift often takes time to fully unfold in your relationships. People are used to interacting with you in a certain way, and it may take a little while for them to recalibrate to this new, calmer version of you. Be patient during this transition period, continuing to hold your new energy consistently, rather than reverting back to old patterns simply because someone hasn't immediately noticed or responded to the change yet. Here's something fascinating that often happens with romantic relationships specifically. Partners who previously seemed distant or inconsistent frequently become noticeably more attentive once genuine, secure detachment replaces anxious, chasing energy. This isn't a manipulation tactic. It's simply because secure, self-assured energy is naturally more attractive and comfortable to be around than anxious, needy energy. And people often relax into deeper connection once they sense this genuine security in you. As this shift continues deepening over time, you'll likely notice your entire social and relational world beginning to feel different, calmer, more balanced, filled with people who genuinely appreciate and reciprocate your energy, rather than simply taking advantage of your previous need for approval. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it becomes one of the most powerful, tangible signs that your silent self-mastery practice is genuinely working, not just internally, but in how your entire external world begins responding to the new energy you consistently bring into it. Recognizing when opportunities begin returning to you as your silent self-mastery deepens, you'll start noticing something subtle at first, then increasingly undeniable. Opportunities, people, and situations you once desperately chased begin reappearing in your life, often in ways that feel unexpected, almost effortless compared to how hard you used to work for similar outcomes before. Here's the first thing to understand about this pattern. These returning opportunities rarely show up in exactly the same form you originally imagined. The relationship you once chased might not return in that exact configuration, but a similar, often healthier connection begins forming instead. The career opportunity you once pursued desperately might not materialize in the exact way you expected, but a different, sometimes even better opportunity appears through an unexpected channel. This is important to understand, because if you're rigidly attached to one specific form, you might miss recognizing these new opportunities when they arrive. The first practical step here is staying open and aware, rather than narrowly focused on one exact outcome you originally chased. Practice noticing small signs of alignment appearing in your life, an unexpected message, a coincidental meeting, a sudden opportunity that seems to appear with surprising ease. These are often signs that your internal shift is beginning to reflect in your external reality. The second important practice is responding to these returning opportunities from your new, calmer energy, rather than immediately reverting back into old chasing patterns out of excitement. When something you once desperately wanted finally starts showing signs of returning, there's a natural temptation to immediately grip onto it tightly, worried it might disappear again. Instead, continue engaging from the same calm, secure energy that helped attract it in the first place. Excitement is natural and welcome, but anxious grasping can quickly repeat the same pattern that created distance before. A third practice involves recognizing the difference between genuine alignment and simply falling back into old, desperate patterns disguised as opportunity. Ask yourself honestly, does this opportunity feel calm, natural, and aligned with the person you've been becoming? Or does engaging with it immediately trigger old, anxious, desperate energy, needing to prove yourself, over-explain, or chase harder than before? Genuine returning opportunities tend to feel different, more natural, less forced, than the desperate chasing energy from before. Here's something important to remember during this phase. Not every single thing you once chased will return, and that's actually a positive sign of genuine growth, not failure. Sometimes you become more secure and aligned internally. You naturally lose interest in certain outcomes you once desperately wanted, realizing they were never truly aligned with your authentic growth in the first place. This natural shift in desire is part of the deeper transformation happening within silent self-mastery. A fourth practice is celebrating these returning signs quietly, without immediately telling everyone or making a dramatic announcement about your success. Continuing this quiet, internal celebration reinforces the same energy that created this positive shift in the first place, rather than shifting back into needing external validation or recognition the moment things start improving. As you continue recognizing and calmly engaging with these returning opportunities, you'll notice an increasing sense of quiet confidence building within you. This isn't arrogance, it's simply the natural result of consistently trusting your own inner process and watching, time after time, how your external reality genuinely begins reflecting the internal transformation you've been quietly building all along. Maintaining silent self-mastery during major life changes. As your silent self-mastery deepens and starts producing real visible results, you'll eventually face a new challenge. Maintaining this same calm, inward-focused energy during periods of major life change, whether that's a new relationship forming, a career opportunity finally arriving, or significant recognition coming your way. This transition period is often more challenging than people expect, because success itself can unconsciously pull you back into old patterns. Here's why this happens. When something you've worked toward quietly finally begins manifesting, there's a natural temptation to suddenly increase your involvement, effort, or attention around it, almost like anxiously trying to secure something you're afraid might slip away. This is completely understandable, but it often reintroduces the very energy of neediness and chasing that helped create this positive shift in the first place. The first practical step during these transitions is consciously maintaining your existing daily practices, even as external circumstances improve. Continue your morning check-ins, your evening reflections, and your inward focus, rather than assuming that once something positive arrives, you no longer need these grounding practices. In many ways, success requires even more consistent inner work, because the stakes now feel higher, and the temptation to grip tightly increases significantly. The second important practice is noticing when excitement starts shifting into anxious attachment. Genuine excitement about positive change feels expansive and light. Anxious attachment, on the other hand, often feels tight, urgent, and slightly desperate, worrying constantly about losing what you've gained. The moment you notice this shift happening, return to your grounding practices, breathing, inward focus, and detachment from needing this specific outcome to remain exactly as it currently is. A third practice involves remembering that this new positive development, whether a relationship, opportunity, or achievement, arrived precisely because of your calm, secure energy, not despite it. This means the most effective way to maintain and even deepen this positive change is by continuing the same energy that created it in the first place, rather than shifting into a completely different, more anxious approach now that stakes feel higher. Here's something crucial to understand about major life changes specifically. They often bring unexpected new challenges and uncertainties of their own. A new relationship requires navigating unfamiliar dynamics. A new career opportunity requires adjusting to new expectations and pressures. During these adjustment periods, it's especially important to return to your foundational silent self-mastery practices, rather than assuming you've arrived and no longer need this inner work. A fourth practice is remaining genuinely humble and grounded, even as things improve significantly in your life. This doesn't mean suppressing genuine joy or gratitude for positive developments, but rather continuing to hold these changes with the same quiet, secure energy you've been cultivating all along, rather than allowing external success to inflate your ego or create a false sense of having completely mastered this practice permanently. As you successfully navigate major life changes while maintaining your silent self-mastery, you'll notice these positive developments tend to feel more stable and sustainable than previous successes you may have chased more desperately in the past. This stability itself becomes powerful proof that this quiet, inward approach doesn't just attract positive change, it also creates the kind of grounded energy needed to genuinely sustain and deepen it over time. Building a permanent identity shift, not just temporary behavior. At this point in your journey, it's important to understand a crucial distinction that determines whether silent self-mastery becomes a lasting part of who you are, or simply a temporary technique you use during difficult moments. The goal isn't just to behave differently when you remember to, it's to genuinely become a different version of yourself at the identity level. Here's what this means practically. Early in this journey, silent self-mastery often feels like a conscious effort. Remembering to pause before chasing, deliberately redirecting your focus inward, consciously choosing detachment over anxious attachment. This is a completely normal and necessary stage. But over time, the goal is for this way of being to become so deeply integrated that it stops feeling like effort altogether, and instead becomes simply who you naturally are. The first step in building this permanent identity shift is beginning to see yourself differently, not as someone constantly trying to practice detachment, but as someone who is naturally calm, secure, and inwardly focused. This might sound like a subtle difference, but it's actually quite significant. When you see yourself as someone practicing a skill, you remain in a constant state of conscious effort. When you see yourself as someone who simply embodies this energy naturally, the behavior begins flowing more effortlessly, without requiring constant, deliberate willpower. The second practice here involves consistently making choices, even small ones, that align with this new identity, rather than your old chasing patterns. Each time you choose stillness over anxious action, inward focus over outward seeking, or calm detachment over desperate chasing, you're casting a vote for the type of person you're becoming. Over enough time, these consistent small choices accumulate into a genuinely new, stable sense of identity, one that doesn't require constant conscious reminding anymore. A third important element is releasing your old identity stories about yourself. If you've spent years believing you're someone who chases, who needs external validation, who struggles with patience or detachment, it's important to consciously release these old narratives, replacing them with a new, accurate reflection of who you're actually becoming through this consistent practice. This might mean gently correcting yourself internally when old self-talk arises, replacing thoughts like, "I always chase too hard," with "I'm someone who has learned to trust my own process." Here's something powerful to understand about identity change specifically. Once a new way of being becomes genuinely integrated into your identity, it naturally becomes far more resilient to setbacks or challenging situations. Instead of needing to consciously remember specific techniques every single time a difficult moment arises, your natural, default response simply becomes calm and secure, because that's genuinely who you've become, not just a temporary behavior you're forcing yourself to maintain. A fourth practice involves regularly reflecting on how far you've already come, rather than only focusing on how far you still have to go. Notice specific situations where your natural response would have been completely different a year ago, 6 months ago, or even just a few weeks ago. This reflection reinforces your new identity, helping you recognize that this isn't just wishful thinking. It's a genuine, measurable transformation that's already taking place within you. As this deeper identity shift continues solidifying, you'll notice something remarkable. Silent self-mastery stops feeling like something you have to consciously practice, and instead becomes simply an authentic reflection of who you now are: calm, secure, inwardly focused, and naturally, effortlessly magnetic to the very things you once felt you had to chase so desperately to receive. The final truth: everything you chased was never meant to be chased. We've covered an entire journey together, from understanding why chasing pushes things away, to reclaiming your energy, building daily inward focus, sitting with discomfort, detaching from outcomes, becoming naturally magnetic, practicing patience, handling setbacks, watching relationships shift, recognizing returning opportunities, maintaining this energy through major life changes, and finally, building a permanent identity shift. Now, let's bring everything together with the deepest truth underlying this entire practice. Everything you've ever chased so desperately, that relationship, that recognition, that opportunity, was never actually meant to be chased in the first place. It was meant to be attracted, naturally, as a reflection of who you were quietly becoming on the inside. The chasing itself was never the path toward these things. It was actually the very thing standing in their way. Here's the beautiful paradox at the heart of silent self-mastery. The moment you stop needing something to feel complete, you often become exactly the kind of person that thing naturally gravitates toward. Not through manipulation, not through games, but through a genuine internal shift from lack to wholeness, from anxious seeking to calm, secure presence. This entire practice was never really about the external outcomes at all, even though those outcomes matter and are genuinely wonderful when they arrive. At its core, silent self-mastery has always been about coming home to yourself, about learning to feel whole on your own, regardless of who notices, who responds, or what timeline things unfold on. And ironically, this is precisely the state of being that makes you naturally attractive to everything you once felt you had to fight so hard to receive. So here's what I want you to remember, moving forward from today. You don't need to chase your worth into existence through relentless effort and desperate seeking. You simply need to quietly, consistently build it through your own daily focus, your own inner growth, your own calm, unwavering presence. Everything else, the people, the opportunities, the recognition, has a way of naturally finding its way back to those who no longer need to chase it. This isn't a quick fix, and it isn't a one-time decision. It's an ongoing, lifelong relationship with yourself, one that deepens the more you honor it. But if you commit to this quiet inward path consistently, patiently, and without needing immediate proof that it's working, you'll find something remarkable happening over time. Your life begins to feel less like a constant struggle to obtain things, and more like a natural, effortless unfolding of everything that was always meant to be yours. You were never behind. You were never too late. You simply needed to stop chasing long enough to let your own quiet transformation catch up to everything you were always worthy of receiving. If this journey through silent self-mastery resonated with you, hit that follow button, because this is exactly the kind of transformation I share here regularly. Comment silent below if you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming today. This has been Master Shen. Stay silent, stay powerful. I'll see you in the next one.